Hello my friends, welcome to a brand new Black Desert Online video, where today we are going to be talking about the Nova Awakening. Now, for those of you who haven't watched my previous video where I made my seasonal character, I pretty much explained that the Nova did not interest me when she first came out. She has this playstyle that I think is very, very interesting, and I'm very happy that people who enjoy that playstyle had another class to play. She was sort of a heavy-hitting CC tank type class with summons, which is a really, really cool concept. I thought it was a great idea. It just wasn't for me. However, I didn't rule out the possibility of giving her a try once the Awakening came out, if the Awakening was something I was interested in. Now, when I said those words, I had the thought in the back of my head that it probably wouldn't change anything. See, in Black Desert, most classes, when they get their Awakening, while the gameplay itself changes, the actual tempo of the class doesn't change that much. Usually classes that are fairly quick and mobile stay fairly quick and mobile in their Awakening, and classes that are slow heavy hitters tend to stay as slow heavy hitters. Obviously there are exceptions to that rule, but when this came out, if you had told me that the Nova would go from a Morningstar and Great Shield wielding CC summoning tank and transform into a hyper mobile Super Saiyan with a black magic rapier, I would have said that you probably got your information wrong. But that's actually what happened, and I would like to talk about her today as I've finally given her a shot. So, straight off the bat, if you asked me if she was fun and a good class, I would have to separate them into two different categories. She is insanely fun, but whether or not she's good is definitely going to be up to opinion and up to the balance changes that are going to be coming. So, my biggest thing with her is her mobility is absolutely insane, and when you get your Excel mode, which is your Super Saiyan mode that all your abilities funnel their power into like a resource bar, and then you unleash it for a set amount of time, that mode is also insane. Your damage is crazy, your mobility gets even faster, and your range goes up and everything. But she doesn't seem very good when you don't have that up. She's still perfectly fine, don't get me wrong. She's not an underpowered class. She's just not a super powerful one. And I think it's a really interesting balance choice to sort of have this balance between like a class that's somewhat weak for a period of time, and then just has your damage and mobility spike for a period of time, and just having that balance back and forth. I don't necessarily think it's bad, I just think it's an interesting design choice, but I actually really do end up enjoying her. As for the numbers she's pulling so far, she seems to be a fairly average class. Like I said, she's definitely not in the same tier as your Awakened Hashishins, your Awakened Guardians, you know, Succession Witch and Wizard, Succession Striker, those like insane grinding classes. She's not really at that level. She's definitely much more in the balanced category, unless of course, like I said, you're in your Excel mode in which you go through the roof. Now, there are a couple other things that I had that are sort of, I don't want to say cons because they can definitely be changed. A lot of her abilities are mobility-focused abilities, so when it comes, you gather up all the mobs, you do your leashes, everything like that, but when it actually comes time to do your DPS rotation, she's just kind of lacking in the amount of abilities that you have. The abilities that she does have do a lot of damage, but there's just not quite enough of them, and it really seems like after you do your whole combo, if there's a couple mobs left alive, you don't really have a lot to do in order to clean them up. Obviously you have your backwards LMB, which doesn't have a cooldown, but it's just sort of a weird thing where it feels like you almost run out of abilities to use. Normally on the Guardian, for example, where you have only 3 or 4 abilities that you really use over and over again, they're on a low enough cooldown that you can keep cycling them, whereas on the Nova there's a little bit of a delay. The other issue that's sort of strange with her is if you have to switch back and forth between your Awakening and your Pre-Awakening, it can be quite jarring, as the Pre-Awakening is very slow and heavy hitting, and the Awakening is very fast and multi-hit focused. But again, it's just a playstyle thing. I think it's totally fine. It's going to depend on how they want to make the class work. So, in my personal opinion, if they want it to be one of those classes like, for example, Musa, where you spend most of your time in the Awakening stance with not a lot of switching back and forth, they need to make it so that you have more abilities to use in order to keep those damage rotations going. But if they want to make her one of these classes where you swap back and forth between your awakening and your pre-awakening like a sorceress, I don't think there's any issue with that. The main problem I have right now is there's not enough abilities that actually swap you back and forth. So you end up just having to use your C swap a lot, which again, like, it just sort of makes it feel kind of strange. So she's in this weird balance state where she feels kind of strange to play and she doesn't have a lot of abilities, but what she does have hits really, really strong. Now I've been hearing rumors that there are new awakening skills coming out to a lot of classes and she's supposed to get one. On top of that, she doesn't have her Rabams yet, which are obviously going to make a difference as well, and her bond skills. So obviously this is just a first impressions. This is not a long-term guide. I'm just sort of expressing my first opinions on playing her. So overall, she lends herself, it seems really, really good at grinding your sort of one-shot and run areas. In the background footage, you can see me grinding Blood Wolves, Polly's Forest, Mansions, any of those like really fast. You want to like kill the mob, go to the next pack, kill the mob, next pack. Rather than the ones where they require a bit more like damage rotations, like your Stars and your Sakrayas. So far she seems pretty okay, like really, really good at those fast spots. There are a couple abilities that I haven't unlocked yet, obviously, but it doesn't seem like they're too much different. I seem to be getting the same opinion from my friends who are much higher geared than I am. But again, the class has not even been out a week yet, so I don't want to put like a definitive thing on it for how well it is. So if you guys are looking for a super mobile class that can do a ton of damage in these sort of very simplistic and easy to play ways, I would recommend that you check her out. You might be pleasantly surprised. Like I said, I had no intention of playing her when I saw that pre-awakening, and I am loving the awakening right now. I am sort of maining her right now just so I can try and get used to her, just in case she does get buffed in the future. If she ends up being really, really good when people sort of figure the class out, I'll probably end up sticking with her. She is the type of class I like to play, the super mobile, super damage heavy classes. But again, we're just going to have to say. So as of right now, I'm giving her about a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Like I said, when you're in Awakening and you have your abilities up, she feels super good. She just needs a few tweaks to really make her smoother. I think she could probably use a couple flows because she doesn't have any flows for her abilities. You basically get nearly all your abilities right off the bat, and you kind of know what you're getting with. It's also kind of weird that you don't get your E buff until level 60. Your shift E buff in Awakening. You have your E buff, which is your Excel, obviously, but she just has some interesting things. But like I said, it's a brand new class. It hasn't even been out a week yet. There is plenty of time to make changes, and I'm sure they're going to be doing that. I will be making a guide on her once I feel comfortable enough on the class to feel like I'm able to give proper information on it. But as of right now, like I said, 7 or 8 out of 10, at least on the what I would consider the goodness scale. But I would definitely say she's a 10 out of 10 on the fun scale. She's insane. And though I haven't played the Succession yet, I just want to throw this in at the end. I have not played the Succession at all, but from what I've heard from a lot of friends, guildmates, and in-game, the Succession is completely broken. So take a look and see if it's been nerfed. And if you're just looking for efficiency, it seems Succession is the way to go. But if you want to have fun dashing around the map at Mach 15, neon pink particle effects, and a super cool living tree sword scythe thing, go ahead and give the Awakening a try. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And of course, guys, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to check out my Twitch channel, subscribe to this channel, and stay tuned for the next video. I love you all, and have a wonderful evening.